All right. I believe we are live. Just make sure of a couple of things here, but it looks like we are live for Hypno News for the week of July the 5th, 2026. As you can see, I am not Grant. I am Sean, and Grant is actually away on assignment. He has some shows that he is doing, and so we'll hear about those next week. But we do have a fairly busy conference schedule to get through, and of course the very first one that is up and coming is of course Hypno Thoughts Live. So give me just a second to adjust my screen here. These are the days where I actually need a third screen, that would just make my life that much nicer. But we are going to pull this over here, and we are going to share, because sharing is caring. And here we go. Share the screen. We want that's the screen right there. And okay. And I'll get this bar out of the way so you can actually see what we're doing. And there it is. Look at that. And I'm even a little teeny tiny kind of a guy. What can I say? So here we go. I'm going to pull that over to the chat so you can see what's going on with the chat. Minimize this a little bit so you can see what's going on with the other chat. Because we are live everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. And you can see, let's start at the beginning here. Coming up in a week. My gosh. In a week, people are going to be, if they haven't already converged on the Las Vegas Sahara Hotel, they will be right away, because July 17th, 18th, and 19th, that is next weekend, is Hypno Thoughts Live. And, Scott and Stephanie work all year to make sure that Hypno Thoughts delivers, and it is, of course, the absolute biggest, bestest conference out there. And if you have never been, you want to make plans. If not this year, then do it next year. I will say this: tickets are usually the cheapest they ever are, either at the conference or just after the conference. So plan ahead, but do plan to get there at some point, because it is an experience. Imagine about 600 or 700 hypnotists actually coming together to share, learn, grow, connect, you name it. So that's Hypno Thoughts Live coming up next week. This one is out of place. It needs to be over here. Because after that, Michigan, our friend Dan Goyette, who has created a new podcast that is actually now even available even in Amazon, called The Traveling Hypnotist. The Michigan International Hypnosis Convention. It is it packs a lot in, and if you know Dan, Dan is very thoughtful about making sure that there is a balance between vendors. They're working on some workshops this year, and I know Grant is speaking at one of them. Speakers and all the extracurricular activities, and of course, we all know, and we've said it many times before, Dan is an expert at getting what's the word I want to use? In Canada, a lot of us will call them door prizes, raffle prizes, whatever you want to call them, swag. Dan is an expert at putting together something that is memorable with really good tools, and is able to help people win. You can win in more than one way in Michigan, that's for sure. So that is coming up, and that is in September. So September 11th to the 13th. Then we have Mid-America coming up right after that. in Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is part of Chicagoland, the greater Chicago area. You can see here lots of good things. They are. I'm looking for their guest speaker announcements. Here it is. Pre-conference workshops. There we go. So Martin Castor Peterson and Ken Guzzo doing the opening ceremony and keynote, along with the presentations and all the good stuff that would happen at a conference. So again, if you are planning on attending and you're in the area, or this is maybe a destination that you also want to visit, then fly in and spend some time before and after. You can count that all towards your business. And there you go. All good. All right, so that's Mid America. Followed up very next weekend with Canada having its annual conference, and this one, October 23rd to the 25th. This is going to be an absolutely wonderful conference to get to. The keynote speaker, of course, you can see right there is Karen Hand. Again, always lots to do in Toronto. You can see the CN Tower is right there. That is down by the waterfront, not that far off. So if you want to dip your toes in one of the Great Lakes, you can certainly do that. Lake Ontario is the boundary of Toronto and separates Toronto from Hamilton. You literally have to go around to get to them. But there's also Niagara Falls and a host of other things to do in the city. Again, if you're wanting to sightsee and take in some events, look ahead, plan ahead, and you may be able to schedule the conference and a couple of events just like that. So coming up again in October, 23rd to the 25th. November doesn't really have much for the way of conferences, but we do end off the year with the UK Hypnosis Convention, the 13th to the 15th of November. Again, you can see this is a site that gets updated regularly. People are talking about their presentations. You're flying basically into London, so again, if you're going to do some sightseeing or you want to get around and see some of the sites in London or in England because you're there, you can certainly do that. This conference tends to be a little bit more on the education side, meaning that you're going to have some high quality speakers that are going to deliver some very information packed sessions, and that to me is, well, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a teacher, but that to me is really key, having that that extra delivery just like that, because what happens is you get some conferences that there are a lot of speakers. You may not necessarily get as much out of them, but then you come to something like this, and it's almost like you kind of get buried in the information. So again, they work to create a little bit of a balance there. I know they had a number of new speakers last year, and so that's always the sign of a conference that is growing and continuing to strive to deliver exactly what they want as as their clientele, the hypnotists that get there do show up. And of course that ends off 2026 and we get into 2027, and you can see here, oh my gosh, there's less than 200 days to get set for the Performing Hypnosis Summit. We are busy working on the schedule. We will announce that after HypnoThoughts, because we're not looking to capitalize on anybody else's momentum. And I have to say, for the most part, conference organizers are very cognizant of the fact that when somebody else is having an event, that they don't overstep, and that just is a sign of maturity within the profession itself. So it's not a competition. When one of us kind of steps out and tries something new, it usually has ripple effects all the way through the conference world. So this particular summit, though, Performing Hypnosis Summit, PHS 5, believe it or not, it is 5 years old, is again going to be held at the Gold Coast Casino and Hotel. We have all kinds of good things. I know in the blog here there was some information about planning your flights. You can see here we've got reflections on the various different years and events and so on and so forth. But we do have special airfare rates. Those will be on the website. They are definitely in the Facebook group. And of course, the hotel reservations. We've got a better deal this year than we did last year, which is a testament to the fact that they like having us at the Gold Coast Hotel and Casino. So when I look at it, overall, if you snag the airline rebate and you get the special room rate discounts and so on and so forth, you can make this trip, a little less expensive on the pocketbook, and still take in a whole bunch of different things. We've got lots of stuff in the works for the after hours activities, so on and so forth. So, and yeah, it's coming up. I can remember last year at about this time, we were all kind of amazed. Yeah, we're down under 200 days, thinking, oh my gosh, we still have 200 days before we get to see everybody again. And quite frankly, that seemed to go very, very quickly. Especially once September hit, then people were back into what I'll call the regular swing of things. Kids were back in school, so on and so forth. Summer holidays, for the most part, were over, and life was returning to its regular fast pace, right? And all of a sudden, boom, away you go. So January 22nd to the 24th, the Gold Coast Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas. I know I'll be there. Brian will be there, of course. Grant will be there, and you can join us for those 3 days, and possibly adventures before and after. We'll see how things shake out with some of the events that we are planning. All right. You know what? I think that is everything that I have on the conference side of the fence, and I'm going to flip this back here. There we go. Now I look like myself. Yep, there we go. And we're going to take that out of the way. Hang on, technical. Move that. There we go. And with all of that said, if you have news, you have events that you want us to promote on Hypno News Live, let me know. Let Grant know. We are more than happy to help get the word out and help you get to the different parts of the world that social media reaches, but we don't always have access to. And I do apologize for the mess. I am in the process of kind of remodeling a little bit here, so as things take shape, you'll see a different background, and it will be business as usual. So, oh, I know. There was one other thing that we didn't mention, and that was the Hypnosis Hero podcast. And I'm just going to bring that up. If I spelled everything correctly, look at that. I did. There we go. We're going to share that screen. And we're going to show that here. So, the Hypnosis Hero podcast, we had our last episode of the Hypnosis Hero podcast this actually just yesterday. During the day, it was a special time because our guest was from the UK. So be in mind, if you have not been on the Hypnosis Hero podcast and you are a hypnotist that has been active and practicing hypnosis, whether it is stage or consulting hypnotist or hypnotherapist, whatever that term is, and you've not been on our podcast yet, feel free to look for the Hypnosis Hero podcast.com, and we will get you scheduled and find a time to get you on the podcast. Brian and I are always interested in who's doing what out in the world of hypnosis, because there's me and there's Brian. Look at that. And of course, Jim started the podcast many years ago, and yeah, it's all good. And you can see there, recorded live. We don't edit anything. So when you go to take a look for example, on YouTube, you will see very quickly that the podcast itself is not edited. It is live as it was recorded. We will probably do a little bit of editing and chop things up for Spotify and Apple Podcasts when we get to that point. But season 5 is in the books, and we'll get on with the next season, and we'll have more information in the coming weeks. All right. Now I think we've got everything. Take that away from the stream. I'm going to put myself back up there. Look at that. Now, because it's me, yeah, we could do that and just lean this way. It's all good. Been a while since I've monkeyed around with those settings. In any event, if you have any other Hypno news that you would like us to get out, as we said, please feel free to message us, and we will get that going on the next issue of Hypno News Live, which is, of course, coming up next Wednesday. Until then, take care, stay well, and be awesome. Have a good night, everybody.